Now there's a few things I do not like about the Canon R10. I've been using this for about 6 months now, and while I think it's a good quality aps-c censored camera, I still have a few qualms, a few issues and a few little niggles that I don't like about it. Now, please bear in mind, I am coming from something like the Canon R6 full frame. I'm coming to this, a lower end camera, so you have to bear that in mind. But this is probably getting a little bit old now. I'm looking to probably replace it. I might wait and see if the Mark III version comes out, or maybe go for the R3. But I got the R10 so I can have like an alternative angle in the studio, a B camera, different things, take it out when I don't really have to worry about breaking my full frame camera and I'm going somewhere that maybe if I lose this, it's not the end of the world. I mean, it would be, it's still a lot of money, but this is what this camera is to me anyway. Now, the first thing I don't like about it is the battery door. It's not spring loaded. Now, while that might feel like a bit of a nitpick, it's annoying when you use it on a daily basis. It's actually quite hard to open anyway, so you have to put your finger in there and it flops down. And this, it's not spring loaded, and that's annoying when you're trying to get it. So you're turning around, you're trying to get the battery out of the camera. Just a little bit annoying. When you come to something like the R6, spring loaded, it's like it's there and it stays there until you close it, rather than just flapping around. Now, like I said, might feel like a bit of a nitpick, but when you are using these things every day, like I am, that does come a little bit annoying. The other thing is that the SD card is inside this door, so it's another thing you have to open to get to the SD card. So you have to open it twice to get the battery out or to get to the SD card. It's very, very annoying. Although it's only got one SD card slot, as you would expect for a camera at this price, I'd just prefer it to be on the side. The grip is actually big enough, I think, to have it mounted on the side. I would have thought, like the R6 has that one on the side, it's got the dual card slots in there. Again, spring loaded door, and you get to it that way. So yeah, when you've got it mounted on a tripod or something, you want to get the SD card out pretty quickly. It's annoying that you have to take it off to get in there. You don't have to, but to see what you're doing, you kind of do. The third point, which is probably the most annoying point, which I actually bought this for in the first place, is that the screen goes off after 30 minutes, which means if you're live streaming with this, which you can do, it's got a clean HDMI output, although the HDMI is still only a mini HDMI or micro HDMI in there. The screen goes off after half an hour, and then you have to press a shutter button to reactivate it, and that means your live stream goes off. I read somewhere that the screen didn't go off after 30 minutes, but I assure you that it does. It doesn't have a record limit, which is a great thing. This will just run and run and run. I've had no overheating issues with it whatsoever. That is a thing that's got the advantage over the R6, for example. But yeah, it still goes off. I bought this camera thinking that it didn't go off, but it does. So for live streaming, it's still not really a viable option. Number 4 is there's no driver mode on the menu on the touchscreen. You have to go into the menu inside the menu. You just have to press the menu button, go and change the driver mode. So if you want to add a delay, you want to add a timer onto your shutter, then you have to go into the menu itself. With something like the full frame cameras, the R6 for example, you've got the option to do it on the screen, and it's just really quickly changeable. So when you're using the R10, it becomes a little bit of annoying. When you're taking sort of long exposure photos, you want a bit of a delay on your photo, then you have to go into the menu, change that. So having no driver mode on the actual touchscreen menu on the back of the screen is just another thing that you notice when you're using these things every day. Now, one other thing you need to sort of know is that this has got dual pixel RAW, which is really good. It's an update over the full frame R6 that hasn't got that in that camera, but that just gives you the ability to edit in camera the photo. You can shift the bokeh and you can play with the background clarity in camera. So that's a brilliant feature. But if you're using that, you can't have silent shutter mode on. So if you're shooting a wedding or something like that, not that you'll be messing around with the photo in camera, but if you need the silent shutter mode, then that is not available in dual pixel RAW. So it's just something to notice if that's one of the features that you're after. This has 120 frames per second, but the one thing I have noticed compared to using the R6 is that this is very, very light. So when it comes to handheld slow motion, you struggle to get really, really smooth footage because the camera is so light. When you're using something like the R6, it's got a lot of weight to it. The more weight you've got in your hands, easier it is to get like a nice smooth panning shot in slow motion. Like I said, it's another one of those things that if you're using these every day, you pick up on. I do generally have, this is just the kit lens that comes with it, by the way. It's not too bad of a lens, but it's not the best. I'm using this adapter with the Sigma 18-35, the notorious lens. It's massive and it does add the weight to it. But because his body is still so light, it's still not as smooth as using something like the R6 for slow motion footage. You'd probably need something like a tripod with a fluid pan head to get some really smooth slow motion. So yeah, I can't really do like product B-roll with this. You still see those little micro jitters even with the 120 frames per second. So another thought to think about. When it comes to buying Canon cameras at the moment, the other thing to really assess and really think about before you buy one of these cameras is the lens options. Now Sony have seemed like they're leading the market with that kind of thing at the moment. They've got the amazing lenses from Sigma, Viltrox, and the Canon RF mount seems to be blocked at the moment. There's no sort of third-party lenses coming out. So if you're buying a camera, the aps-c version or the full frame RF lenses are ridiculously expensive. So you've got to think about that. I actually don't own any apart from this kit lens that actually came with the camera. I'm using adapters and Sigma EF lenses with all of my cameras. While they're brilliant lenses, they're not quite the RF mount lenses, but I just can't afford to buy something that's like £2,000 to £3,000 for these cameras at the moment. So something to think about. The cameras are expensive, but then you've got to sort of go into the realms of RF lenses as well to get some really good footage. And unfortunately, it does seem like those third-party lenses are going to be blocked for some time yet. So Canon, we need third-party lenses, please. Release that software, release the patents, whatever you've got to do to get those third-party manufacturers making these lenses. Sigma makes some amazing lenses, and I'm not sure why we can't get any more for the RF mount at the moment. Apart from that, this camera is good. If you're coming from something like the M50 Mark II and you're making the jump up to something like the R10 or the R7, I love this. It's a great B camera for me. It looks really good. The picture's stunning. It's got dual pixel autofocus Mark II, so the autofocus is brilliant. It's like the best autofocus out there, I think. The color science is Canon's color science and it does look good. I don't need to grade my footage, although I don't generally do a lot of professional stuff. I'm more doing YouTube videos, so I don't grade it. I don't go to that point. This hasn't got any log features in it, while it has got the creative filters that you can mess around with and change the clarity and adjust your picture a little bit. The full frame cameras have got log and C-log in there, so you can shoot that in there, and 10-bit RAW inside the Canon R6. But still a great camera. If you're jumping up, like I said, to something from the M50, this is a really good option. Apart from the nitpicks, great camera. I hope it helped. Think about those lenses before you purchase a Canon camera though. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.